feed.
The competition is beginning.
Oh, sorry, mate.
Everyone plays it now.
It's always that one guy gives it away.
I know.
Got the orange.
Sitting in the cup.
I thought it was going to...
Too many people.
Too much food.
Yeah, look at Oscar.
Yeah, he's waiting.
This is like kids.
Happy Christmas!
Happy Christmas! Are you eating? Yay! Wow. Is that nice toast? Nice bread? Wow.
She's adorable.
Yes.
How are you? I'm good.
So much nicer. Oh, does that take a good...
So there is a nice patch of carpet here. If anyone is okay sitting on the floor, it's a really good spot. There's even an orange blanket. So, welcome everybody. No talking?
What? Sorry.
Welcome to Open Mic Night number 50. Woo! Oh, what a crowd. We need to get some more chairs.
I know.
Is this the most we've had before? I think it might be for Open Mic Night. So welcome everyone. If you don't know who I am, I'm Blaise van Hecke. I am part of Busybird. Kev over there is on camera. He's my other half. He is taping, recording everything, filming everything, whatever you want to call it. I get into trouble because I don't know what it's called anymore. And it will go onto YouTube. So if you don't want to be on YouTube, let Kev know. It is hot up here, isn't it? Yeah. So we've got a few things. We've got our normal open mic night, and we've got quite a few readers. But I think we can go a bit later for the last one for the night. So I think 5 minutes each is a good amount of time. So I'd like to welcome a few people tonight. Well, everyone, thank you all for coming. I know some of you have come near and far, and that's fantastic, especially when right on 5 o'clock it started pissing down with rain. All the dogs at our house were all, in the neighbourhood were going crazy. I'd like to welcome Paul. He's just come back from a trip around the world for 9 weeks. So, the most important thing we're going to do though, and we're going to do this first because there's a few people in the audience who are waiting to find out if they are the recipient of our fellowship. And so, and I know it's a bit mean, but I don't actually give anyone, I don't tell the winner before the night. So there's 4 people who are anticipating winning it. So there's 4 on the short list, and I've left my list up the back. I'm going to go get that in a minute. All 3 people who don't get the fellowship will still get something from Busybird. They will all get to come to any of our in-house workshops, and they will get an hour mentorship with anyone they choose from Busybird. So, I'm just going to run and get my list. Play some music.
It's my GoPro, but the mic, it has a mic front and back, and it's just the most awesome sound you can get. There's no screen on the back, so basically I can Bluetooth it to my phone, I can see it live with my phone. No, it's a 4K video camera. Yeah. I used that when I was
Okay, sorry about that. No more talking? I'm being fairy tonight. So, these are the 4 people who are on our shortlist. Rosemary Graham. Daniel Fanning. I'd like to point out that Daniel is only 16. Okay. David Murray. Actually, I'm going to point you out. Can I get Rosemary to wave? Hi, Rosemary. Daniel. David Murray. And Bonita Thatcher. Oh, hi. Okay, so we would love to give it to everyone, but it's not possible, obviously, because it's meant to be for one person. So I would like to thank everyone for entering, and I will talk to the people who didn't get the fellowship afterwards about the things that we are going to give them. But I would like to call up to the front. Oh, so do we know what the fellowship is? That would be a good thing to explain. Look, I've had like this much wine. I never drink anything, and the one time I drink half a glass of wine. So, with the fellowship, you actually get $500 cash, and you can do whatever you like with it. Unlike a lot of fellowships or grants, you have to say what you're going to do with it. Use of the spaces here, so you can come and work here at any stage. You can come with your laptop and write if you like, or you can just come and hang out. You will get us as mentors through the whole year of 2018. Free entry into all of our in-house workshops. And if you wanted to self-publish in the future, you will get discounted publishing services. So, I have an envelope here with $500 cash. So, someone's going to have lots of friends by the end of the night. And the winner is Rosemary Graham. So there's yours. Thank you. And that's yours. Beautiful. I don't know if you want to say anything. No. Do you want? Can we take a photo? Yes. Have you got your camera? Putting them on the spot. You have to have a photo when you see me. Lovely. Thank you.
That is written.
How does it wear?
Oh, hang on, I forgot my notes.
It runs in the family.
Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you. So all of those 4 people can relax now. You can go and get drunk, if you like. Maybe not Daniel, because I might get into trouble. Okay, so we have a list of readers here. Some people have to leave earlier, so they've asked to be put up near the front. So I'm going to start with Belle. Where's Belle? And we've got quite a few readers, but I think we can go a bit later for the last one for the night. So I think 5 minutes each is a good amount of time. So, I'd like to welcome a few people tonight. Well, everyone, thank you all for coming. I know some of you have come near and far, and that's fantastic, especially when right on 5 o'clock it started pissing down with rain. All the dogs at our house were all, in the neighbourhood were going crazy. I'd like to welcome Paul. He's just come back from a trip around the world for 9 weeks. So, the most important thing we're going to do though, and we're going to do this first because there's a few people in the audience who are waiting to find out if they are the recipient of our fellowship. And so, and I know it's a bit mean, but I don't actually I don't tell the winner before the night. So, there's 4 people who are anticipating winning it. So, there's 4 on the short list, and I've left my list up the back. I'm going to go get that in a minute. All 3 people who don't get the fellowship will still get something from Busybird. They will all get to come to any of our in-house workshops. and they will get an hour mentorship with anyone they choose from Busybird. So I'm just going to run and get my list. Play some music.
It's a GoPro, but the mic, it has a mic front and back, and it's just the most awesome sound you can get. There's no screen on the back, so basically I can Bluetooth it to my phone, I can see it live with my phone. No, it's a 4K video camera. Yeah. I used that when I was
Okay, sorry about that. No more talking? I'm being fairy tonight. So, these are the 4 people who are on our shortlist. Rosemary Graham. Daniel Fanning. I'd like to point out that Daniel is only 16. Okay. David Murray. Actually, I'm going to point you out. Can I get Rosemary to wave? Hi, Rosemary. Daniel. David Murray. And Bonita Thatcher. Okay, so we would love to give it to everyone, but it's not possible, obviously, because it's meant to be for one person. So I would like to thank everyone for entering, and I will talk to the people who didn't get the fellowship afterwards about the things that we are going to give them. But I would like to call up to the front. Oh, so do we know what the fellowship is? That would be a good thing to explain. Look, I've had like this much wine. I never drink anything, and the one time I drink half a glass of wine. So, with the fellowship, you actually get $500 cash, and you can do whatever you like with it. Unlike a lot of fellowships or grants, you have to say what you're going to do with it. Use of the spaces here, so you can come and work here at any stage. You can come with your laptop and write if you like, or you can just come and hang out. You will get us as mentors through the whole year of 2018. Free entry into all of our in-house workshops. And if you wanted to self-publish in the future, you will get discounted publishing services. So I have an envelope here with $500 cash. So someone's going to have lots of friends by the end of the night. And the winner is Rosemary Graham. So there's just thank you, and that's yours. Beautiful. I don't know if you want to say anything. No. Sure. Do you want? Can we take a photo? Yes. Have you got your camera? Putting them on the spot. You have to have a photo when you see them. Lovely, thank you.
That is written.
How does it work?
Oh, hang on, I forgot my notes.
It runs in the family.
Congratulations, thank you. So all of those 4 people can relax now. You can go and get drunk, if you like. Maybe not Daniel, because I might get into trouble. Okay, so we have a list of readers here. Some people have to leave earlier, so they've asked to be put up near the front. So I'm going to start with Belle. Where's Belle? Got your notes?
I'm using my phone. Okay. So I'm going to be reading Breathe In, Breathe Out. It's one of my new poems that I've written recently over the last 2 years of not writing, so hopefully it's good enough. Breathe in, breathe out. You can't hug a memory. Feeling somewhat misplaced, you're a ship floating in the sea, waiting for the water to break. Breathe in, breathe out. You can't kiss a memory. Water turns to ice. You're shivering in the night. All colours lost in the dark. Breathe in, breathe out. You can't love a memory. Underneath this ship, you're unchanged and taciturn, always reflecting on the past. Thank you.
Thanks, Belle. Make sure it's not another year before you come back. Bill. Come on.
I've known Blaise a couple of years now. Here in the cupboard over here you'll see the book The Kremlin Connection. Blaise was my publisher for that book. Got to tell you, she's the world's best publisher. Leslie Gamanis is a great editor. I can't rate him highly enough. Is that what you wanted me to say?
I'll give you 50 later.
But you see, today is a very important day that I should be speaking to you tonight. And I'll tell you for why, because at 10 o'clock this morning, the head of the Australian Bureau of Statistics announced that 80%, almost 80% of people had responded to the same-sex marriage postal survey, and that 61.6% of them said yes to same-sex marriage. And the reason why that's important is because tonight I'm going to talk to you about the book I'm writing on transgender. Now you see, I write spy thrillers. So why would I be writing a book on transgender? Well, I'll tell you for one. I've only got a few minutes, haven't I?
5.
Right, okay.
Might be about 4 now.
One night I switched on the TV, Channel 2, and I saw a program called The Drum. Now I don't know if you've ever seen it. There was this conservative politician talking about little boys running into little girls' toilets, and I thought, well, that's interesting. It piqued my interest, and so I thought, well, I better check this out. Next thing you know, I've got onto Google, I've looked it up, then I found a site in England. There's about 1,000 T-girls, transsexual people, and they're on this site called TV Chicks. So I thought, well, here goes, darling. I'll just talk to them. So I did by email. Next thing you know, I've got all these people wanting to tell me stories. So as a consequence, you see, I'm working with Blaise because we're going to publish a book on transgender. So I'm going to read you some of the introduction that I've written, just in parts. I'm not going to give too much away. But it'll give you some feel for what we're going to be doing. This is a book about the world of the transsexual. It contains stories from T-girls, cross-dressers, pre- and post-operative transsexuals, all from different starting points, and each in search of their own summit, their nirvana. The stories are as disclosed to me. No attempts have been made to exaggerate either the stories or the outcomes. Indeed, some may be considered hot and sexually stimulating, and so you're warned. If for whatever reason, on moral or other grounds, you feel you cannot or would not feel at ease with the material, then close the book now, it's not for you. Good little opening, huh? What do you want? But to balance the ledger, it's not all about sex. In fact, in many instances, sex plays no meaningful role in the development of many transgender people concerning their views, their aims, their hopes and their aspirations. Are you confused? Well, just stick with it. The penny will drop eventually. And so to the introduction. Not only do I not have all the answers, I don't even know all the questions. So I'll not be confusing you with technical language, since all that would achieve would be to make me so spiritually minded as to be of no earthly use. Therefore, I'll just keep this simple. Further, this is a book about girls in boys' bodies and not the reverse. And why? Not sure, other than the fact I don't think it just doesn't blow my hand back. The aim of the book is to provide enlightenment to the young transgendered person, confronted now with the same seemingly insurmountable issues as for those who have gone before. Like they say, there's nothing new under the sun. But there is a difference, you see, and a big difference. Because as the book, as the introduction, as the stories will tell you, that in generations past, The subject was taboo in most homes, and young people were frustrated in finding an outlet to even discuss their sexuality. Many, as the stories in the book will confirm, found a solution to their concerns about sexuality in the company of someone older, in a public toilet, or from someone off the street. Of course, grooming still exists and always will. However, because of the new and open approach to the subject, in all forms of the media, young transgendered people can take time out to relieve themselves in their own toilet before resuming the conversation with their parents, close friends, or even professional help. Someone just opened the curtains and let the sunshine in, as it were, and not before time. And that's a perfect segue to research in the United States from Johns Hopkins University, which has suggested that over 40% of transsexual people attempt suicide at some stage of their lives. Is that percentage unrealistic? Hell if I know. But in reality, it underscores not only the difficulties faced by young transgendered people, but also the value of true and open disclosure of the issues. And so to the first subject to occupy our minds. It's a word, but not just a word, it's the most important word in the world of the transsexual. It is dysphoria. You see, there are a vast array of different approaches and understandings of the term gender dysphoria, which could otherwise be termed distress. As the brain tries to come to terms with sex and gender, there's a pull of gender evidenced by the hot flashes from the feel of satin on the skin, the slide into submission as the makeup is applied, or the rush of blood when standing in front of the mirror, the end result of a painstaking amount of time in making sure the end product is just right. Most little boys dress up in mum's clothing, just for fun, but come adolescence, the heels have been discarded for other footwear, such as football boots. Yet there are exceptions, such as those who have long since been seduced by that feel of satin on the skin and or the application of makeup. It's drawn them like a magnet, and it's real. One post-op transgender, Rachel from Glasgow, said her doctor expressed dysphoria as a continual orgasm as between the ongoing recognition of the sex and gender assigned at birth, a continual and never-ending orgasm as between male and female. Her one ambition at this time in her life, now in her 50s, is to have the final operation to remove her male genitalia and to have a vagina created. Her ultimate objective is to have a long-term relationship with a man who is a man and not just someone in a dress. She wants to express her true self as a woman. Yet Jeanette from the north of England, who is in her 50s, has a different view. She has no interest in having her male genitalia removed because in the final analysis, she could never love a man as much as she could a woman. So go figure. I put gender identity to the test when I found TV Chicks, the site. I started by asking the simple question, just why are guys attracted to dress as a female? That was my first big mistake. You see, you don't ever say guys in girls' dresses. You need to understand that ladies are female in every sense, but for the appendage hanging off the nether region. And to them, the height of the heel and the stiletto is just as important as the abs on the stomach and the macho man. Your average transgender has a wardrobe that women would die for, and as for shoes, Imelda Marcos, stop drooling. They meet and discuss fashion in such much the same way as guys get together at the hotel for a beer and argue about everything in general and nothing in particular. But the observance of the protocols is of paramount importance. Someone has said gender is determined by what is between the ears. Sex, on the other hand, is determined by what lies between the legs. One thing I do know with certainty, it is ruthlessly observed and simply stated, if a person is dressed, then she is a female. The makeup, the attention to detail is shattered in an instant with any reference to a guy in a dress. So if you want to make your mark with the transsexual community, just ensure you observe the protocols and watch your pronouns.
Just be aware that if you've got a drink of wine, Oscar might drink. Okay, Paul South.
Hang on. Should have brought my sun hat up here. I was wearing a sun hat all day. Okay, I'm going to read some poems about women problems. I traded in loneliness for women problems. So, and that's a good trade. I'm happy. This one's called Retreat. Today I drove on a suspended licence through the niggle and out of town, turned near Balan, took the back ways, Old Corbett's Road, dredged track, pissed in a derelict house, trespassed at Moorabool Reservoir. I'm trying to relax. Walking along, nature, God, etc. Talking to you. Can you beat that? Wound up at Rockland Ashram. A monk signed me in. She looked at me severely, kind of glad to go to my room. But the silence, it buries me. When I returned for the first time, your face revealed me as an apparition. I held you and felt your body weight in tears. Now we're separated but together, and things are never easy. I want you to know I'd come to you if I could, but I need to be still now for a while and see what comes to me. I was feeling a bit old when I wrote this one. It's called A Nightlight for Gemma. I'm up late, and while you sleep until tomorrow, I think about the quiet sex we had and how pitiful an orgasm can feel at 1 a.m. on a Tuesday night. I'm eating Sultana brand, mixed with all brand and Zymel milk. I'm watching a YouTube clip of Laurie Anderson talking about Lou Reed and her talking for 21 years about life and love and death and everything. And I'm aware of our age gap, and I wonder what will not be said this time around, or maybe ever. What we can give to each other. And does anybody really care? How many YouTube hits is enough to keep something alive? And all I can think of is death. Later I will go to bed to find you splayed out like roadkill. Between us in the dark are so many dreams, murky as the past and the future. You have to be the future for me, Gemma. I will keep the light burning through the long cold hours. Morning poem. I think it might be beautiful out there. I can see the light through the edge of the blinds. She had to go, but I wanted cuddles. Job network appointment, her hair wet and cold against my face. On the shelf, last night's massage lotion in a kind of genie bottle. It's too early for this. My brain and eyes are differently focused. Sometimes I get afraid of what I'll find in the mirror. The family male pattern, baldness, a retreating sense of who I thought I was. Outside is a strange counterpoint. A man gently hammers, a bird sings. Whatever was isn't now. Time to wash the dreams away. I think I've got time. We'll see how I go. I haven't got time.
You got 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
26.
Thank you.
You get one ding, and then at 5 minutes it dings twice, which means the end of your time. And no one's really that mean that will yank you off, but you know. What do you keep going at? Are you doing something today?
Oh.
You?
No.
No, okay. Joe, I'm going to get you up, Joe.
Oh. Okay, great to be here on the 50th. What an effort, huh? Big round of applause for Blaise van Hecke. Actually, last time I did an open mic here, I met a doctor of music who hired me for 2 years to work at AIM teaching music composition. I was hoping he'd come tonight. I needed you. Okay, so in Europe, before Santa Claus, especially in Germany, there was, they didn't have St. Nick, they had Krampus. And this was the darker side of Christmas. So this is called Grube von Krampus. Let us go then and be terrible. He's making his list, and you're on it twice. He punishes children, naughty and nice. Krampus is coming to town. His horned and heathen, long pointed tongue, with burnt out candles his wagon is strung. Krampus is coming to town. Wash tub on his back, a beard full of bats. He carries in his claws a birch to swat brats. Krampus is coming to town. With sacks full of coal, a clanging of bells, he empties his bags and haul kids to hell. Krampus is coming to town. He'll steal the jewel bakken, the childermas goat, come disguised as candy that'll stick in your throat. Krampus, the Christmas devil, is coming to town. These are my dark Christmas poems. I'll just do two. This is called Last Minute Gift Ideas for the Cheating Ex. A bullet with his or her name on it. A bullet with the other bastard bitch's name on it. A bullet with your name on it. Who said jealousy can't be funny? Or, if you're feeling clever and sobriquet, you could give the collected set. Okay, this is called Reconciliation Haiku. 3 short haiku. Ugly words were said, words that had no business in the mouths of lovers. Of course I was right, but the smug way I was right was completely wrong. I'm sorry, I said, words of any weight or length. Silence was required. This is my book that's just been released in October. It's Anne-Marie's Run. There's 150 poems and song lyrics that have all been selected by Les Murray over the course of the last 7 years.
Do you have some for sale with you tonight?
I don't bring any tonight, but you can
Broke
get
the
them.
golden rule.
Well, I'm not here to sell them, here to
You should
celebrate.
always have some on you. How much is it?
It's about $30.
And where can we buy it?
Amazon, or you can contact Blaise, she'll give you 10%. And Amazon, or find my website. I've only got 15 left until Christmas, so hurry up. Okay, this is the shortest poem I've ever written, except, no, I did write a shorter one called Shakespeare's. To be or... That was the shortest poem. This one's an extra. Poetry is like looking. Poetry is like looking for a haystack in a needle. Maybe one more before the bell rings. I don't know what to say. They're very short, aren't they? It's not really poems. Souls. Some words form souls of other words. In Hawaiian, ua, rain, is the soul of hua, fruit, pua, flower. Ua sounds the way rain feels. Ua. Rain falls in kaua, us, and aloha kaua. May there be love between us.
Marcello. You gonna come up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was looking the other day at my manuscript, and I found a poem that eventually was published, but looking back, I think the original for me was far better than the final product. That's the danger of over editing. And this, of course, takes place in my little tiny island when I was born. And this is the story of this woman. She's in Rome, and then all of a sudden decides to go somewhere and lands in this island. And that's a story, it's part of our whole series. A small island, A small island beckons, propelled by myth and wind. I travel alone. As my boat pulls near an emerald sloped volcano, climbs from the cobalt sea to twin rounded peaks, a broad valley between. Surging across the small island in muscular curves and lines, this sleeping volcano carves the land in two. The narrow road twists and uncoils past the steep hills, spiked with cacti and caipa bushes, edged by terraced hillsides, thick with olive trees, rosemary and fern. Old stone houses tinted ochre and painted peach hang like ripened fruit on the mountainside, float amidst fuchsias and lemon blossoms. In the village, the summit soars above us, standing watch. A crumbly church bell chimes the hours, but only sometimes. Each morning at first light, the silent volcano calls me. I face its magnetic crest riveted, quickening to the pulse. When night falls, in a white room under the volcano, I lie still in my bed, serenaded by cicadas. On the pathway beyond my door, jasmine petals opalescent in pools of moonlight scent the midnight air. Salt breezes waft through my open window. A white ceiling fan circles overhead. Through summers of time, the small island watched, waited, drawing me closer, as days and minutes and years fell into the sea. Of all the way you have touched me, it will surprise you that my favourite time is the time we walked hand in hand up the hill to the concert, a way strewn with the fresh purple petals from the bougainvillea edge. Piano music floated down to us through the narrow village streets. As we sat in makeshift seats, a swallow flew over our heads. You stroked the curve at the nape of my neck in time with the sonata. Green kimono, that's part of a collection. It was written partly in Canada and partly in the Aeolian Islands. All this was written overseas. We danced in a darkened room to French music from an old radio. You draped me in a green kimono, orange, must be tonight, and red flowers. Your hands slide in through the side openings, caress curves and hollows. The kimono never comes off. Didn't think it was going to be that quick. That is a little one. Okay. System, because the book is called System of My Body. That's my drawings. You take pleasure in my skin, my smell, my taste. You gaze inside my center, see the river running from the system of my body. The current starts where you touch me.
I've only got a short poem. Is that right?
Yeah.
I think my glasses on. My wife's brother, Colin, used to own the go-kart centre at Mount Beauty. He had go-karts and a climbing wall and a local laundromat and lots of ideas to expand it. And it was a good business and good fun. The best fun you can have is to have a brother-in-law who's got a go-kart centre, I can tell you. But it became difficult to operate it in the early 2000s when insurance for anything with ropes and wheels became quite expensive. But although he was named Colin, he was given the nickname Cobbett by his father, my father-in-law, and I've done my best to ensure that this part of his past has not been forgotten. He's quite a character, and one of his little tricks was that for local meetings where you took a plate of food,
He'd take a casserole that he'd made based on grated carrot and rice. He said it was really handy because he could eat all the good food that was there that others had taken, but no one would touch his dish, so he could take it the same casserole to several successive meetings. One time in the early 2000s, we drove to Sydney for a funeral, and we picked up Cobbett at Mount Beauty on the way, and we stayed overnight, and dinner was, you guessed it, it was the casserole, and anything that we'd taken with us, and we got to understand why his casserole had such longevity. In the car on the way up, we talked about various ideas for expanding his business, and after the funeral he went to Bathurst for the races and made his own way back to Mount Beauty, and I penned this short poem, and I apologise in advance that it's not deep and meaningful and that it rhymes. I was in Mount Beauty last week and I thought I'd take a fast peek at the entertainment centre on the outskirts of the town. An amusement park spectacular, and using the vernacular, the best rides you can get these days unless you're lying down. There's a go-kart track exciting and the karts go fast as lightning, and there's other ones for kiddies that just putter round and round. And a climbing wall inspiring. I've found the climbs quite tiring. For me, I think it's better to keep both feet on the ground. It was for Cobbett I was looking, as I'd heard about his cooking, and his recipes are famous right up and down the track. But there, in riding rounded, was a note that quite astounded. Cobbett's gone to Bathurst races, and we don't know when he's back. Well, I have a vision splendid of a casserole, my friend did, and I think the same is talked about around campfires late at night. A healthy little number made from carrot and cucumber and rice and chicken's innards are blended up just right. But there's more to Cobb than cooking, and I know that he is looking at many ways and varied his business to expand. He's got ideas quite terrific, both general and specific, to make his family fun park the grandest in the land. He's put in washers and clothes dryers for those corporate high flyers who need to clean their trousers after speeding around the track. And for babies and for matrons, gentlemen, and all his patrons, he's got men's and ladies' dunnies out the door and round the back. But Cobbett won't just stop there. He wants to build a shop where families can come and play and stay the whole day through. An indoor swimming pool, a driving range and shooting school are ideas that he has right now to make this dream come true. And a first for Kiwa Valley, a 10-bin bowling alley will start to steer the pits and run across the go-kart track. And to make a family fun day, he will offer every Sunday, strike 3 cards with any 5 balls and you get your money back. In the rafters there are starlings, you can shoot the little darlings for 20 cents a shot, that's much less than grouse or pheasant. And depending on the permits, an in-house taxidermist will stuff and mount the birds. They make a lovely Christmas present. But for all his plans far-ranging, I don't think that Cobbett's changing. I still see him in my mind's eye with a whisk and mixing bowl. So when he comes back from the races, I hope he's learned his places in the kitchen, where I see him, Cobbett of the casserole.
I'm a Shelburne from Being Connected. This gorgeous man, cardboard cutout, is the most travelled cardboard cutout in the world. He's been all around. We did USA and Europe. So why this come about is he had a terminal illness, melanoma in the spine, and he passed away about 20 months ago, May 2016. And on his deathbed, he said to me, Michelle, what are you doing when I'm gone? We had many conversations about death and dying. So what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to travel. I said, you know, we were planning on travelling. And so he said, well, where are you going to go? And I said, I'll go to Paris and I'll go to Ireland and all those places that we dreamt of going. And then he said, oh, that's great. And I said, you know what I'm going to do? I said, I'm going to get a full-sized cardboard cutout of you. I'm going to pack you in my suitcase and we will travel together, and I will take a photo of all of us, both of us, at all the sites, all the touristy sites. So he thought, you're not going to, are you? And I said, yeah, why not? I really wasn't going to, but then it just grew legs, as things do. So I booked my tour. It was 9 weeks, I ran a Paul McCartney concert because I'm a big fan of Paul McCartney. I married Paul, and Paul McCartney and I share the same birthday in June, though he's much older than I am. So I booked the tickets for Paul McCartney in New York. I got 2 tickets, one in New Jersey and one in Madison Square. And then I just booked a tour around there. So flying into California, LA, and I was very nervous because A, I may not have been able to fit him in my suitcase, and B, taking cardboard cutout through customs was going to be an interesting topic to discuss if they had have caught me smuggling a cardboard cutout. But anyway, we got him through customs, had no problems at all. So we visited LA, we had him in Vegas gambling and having photos with him in the middle of hurrahs. We took him to San Francisco, but not on a tram car, but we had him at the Painted Ladies in San Francisco, if anyone knows about San Francisco. We had him on Route 66, we had him at Santa Monica Pier, Monterey Bay, in the aquarium there. And the great thing about touring with him is people would just stop and just look. We had him in the Grand Canyon and this lady said, I've just got to ask, what's this cardboard cutout about? I said, this is my gorgeous husband that passed away and we're travelling with him. And as I told the story about him and us, I had a lot of people in tears, a lot of people laughing. And they said, you're such a brave and courageous woman because I travelled by myself just with a cardboard cutout. I said, nah, I said, I've just got a bit of guts, you know. I'll just go, you know, I made a promise and that's what I'm promising. So then we travelled to New York, did the park, Central Park. And a lot of people, when you're trying to, do you know how difficult it is to try and take a photo of him and you with a selfie and a camera? And so people would stop and go, oh, can I take a photo? I said, yeah, sure, great. So then we had him in Central Park, and then I took him up to the Empire State Building, put him through security, because you go through security everywhere in America, and they wouldn't let him in. Do you know how upset I was over a cardboard cutout? I was nearly in tears. Where is he, you know? So by the time I got back down to security, we started chatting and he made some really horrible comments and whatever, but about moving on and grieving and thinking, come on, get over yourself. You know, it wasn't about the grieving because I'd already grieved. It's about having fun and honouring Paul and a promise I made to him. So then we went from, then we did New York, I did Houston, went through all up through Texas, from Houston all the way up to Dallas. Then we went into Paris, and then my number one dream, top of my list, was to visit the Eiffel Tower. And as soon as I saw that Eiffel Tower, I cried. So then we went from Paris, and then we went all around England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, and we did tours, and everybody took him on board, and everyone was asking, how's Paul today? Did he sleep well? Is he eating much? So my journey over 9 weeks, I think it was 7 countries, travelling with a cardboard cutout, and now I'm putting it all together because I've kept notes, and I am writing a book, Travelling with Cardboard Paul. So thank you. No, because he was in his suit.
Oh, okay.
And that was another comment. Michelle, you have to dress up because he's
You need a casual outfit.
Yeah, you need a few outfits.
You know, like
the old dolls, you know.
Barbie things, you know that thing?
Pamela is going to read some of her memoirs called Christmas in England.
Last month I moved on, but I've gone back a bit because it's Christmas, and it's a nice little piece I wrote about seeing my mum and dad after several years away from home. Strange squeaking, bubbling and popping noises were coming from a room at the front of the house. It's all right, Mother laughed, noting my worried face. It's my brewery. I'll show you. She opened the door to reveal a deep cream sofa with matching armchairs and long golden velvet curtains at the bay window, Standing in the centre of the room, 8 huge, 2 feet high, glass magnums were merrily bubbling away as though they had a life of their own. I love making wine, Mother declared. But they're all different colours, I replied, in awe of new expertise. Yes, I can make wine from anything. Here there's grapefruit, carrot, tea and oak leaf wines brewing. But Mother, I thought you only made wine from grapes. Good heavens, no. Homemade wine is different to bought wine and very potent. It takes a couple of months to make, and the noise is produced by yeast activated with the sugar. There couldn't be more surprises, but there were as she continued. Later, I'll show you the cellar. We've got about 100 bottles stored. We've also got our own little pub. What? I exclaimed. Mother always looked and acted sober, and obviously enjoyed a few. What was the secret? Yes, your father altered the end bedroom and made a small bar and put a record player in there for music. We call it the hub, but it's strictly closed except for family visits or when we have a party. There was method in Mother's madness. How did she do it? But come over here, I want to show you something. She led me to the small table in the corner which I hadn't noticed. Several small packages wrapped in coloured paper tied with silver string were placed all over it. Come on, me duck, open them. Well, what are these for? I questioned in amazement. They are gifts to you from us. Each birthday or Christmas, I bought you one. Saved on postage, and now you can enjoy them. She watched intently to see my reaction as I opened each one. Scented soaps to hand and body creams. It was a wonderful thought, and she could see I was genuinely delighted with them. She must have missed her only daughter, and this was a way of showing me how much she cared. I didn't feel guilty accepting them, as I always sent her a national doll from the countries I visited to add to her growing collection. Dancers always work in festive seasons, and I hadn't experienced the joy of celebrating Christmas at home for many years. Waking up on Christmas Day, I went to the bedroom window. Snowflakes were lazily drifting from above to the street below, coating it in an ermine cloth of white brightness. The music of carols floated up the stairs, and singing to myself I soon joined my parents. Streamers were stretched across the ceilings, mistletoe perched around lampshades, and a small tree, draped in silver tinsel and tiny electric light bubbles, flickered intermittently from the front room bay window. It didn't matter, there were only the 3 of us. Popsy and I danced a polka down the passageway as Mother buried her head in the kitchen. We dived into roast chicken and tea.
Pamela, I think we should get dressed up every month. Did anyone not put their name on the list that wanted to read tonight? Are you reading tonight, Gabe? Yeah. Yeah? And
Yeah.
someone else?
Jessica said she wanted to read.
Jess. You can go punch him up.
You did put Jodie down.
I got Jodie. You going to read Jodie? Yep. Okay. Jimmy, you might have some music. Are you ready for music? Have you got your stuff?
Got my stuff here. What about you?
What?
Can you sit?
Yeah, I'm fine.
Sure.
Yeah.
Is the yes vote today. I'm happy about that because I feel that in a progressive society such as Australia, to have that reach of understanding is a very important thing. And I'm going to sing you a song, what I've written about 6 months ago. It's called Built That Bridge. And this song is a story about Natalie. And it's about equalities in the society that we live in. refugee from Cameroon. She fled her homeland, she was doomed. She held her children's hand so tightly, and hoping to find their freedom soon. Days into years in a crowded camp, finally a thumbs up from the UN. Tears of joy flowed when they heard the news. They're bound for the land of kangaroos. She sings, build that bridge, build that bridge, build that bridge for humanity, build that bridge. Outside the migrants' English class, with flying colours madly past, she views the world now through a brighter lens, and she says, I'm ready to join the working class. But sometimes she's called by another name. The name implies that she's not the same. She takes a deep breath, then she questions why, but will not hang her head and cry. Build that bridge, build that bridge, build that bridge of understanding. Now build that bridge. Black or white, yellow, red and brown, the earth we live on is one same ground. Are we so different, you and me? Or part of the human tapestry? Build that bridge, build that bridge, build that bridge of understanding. Now build that bridge, build that bridge, build that bridge, build that bridge of understanding. Now build that bridge, build that bridge for you and me. Now build that bridge.
I went kickboxing yesterday. Someone say I did it.
Yeah. Did the box win or did you win?
I did, of course. Jody.
Okay, this piece was inspired by David, who performed earlier. A few years ago, I heard him perform a few of his poems based on rewrites of fairy tales, so I thought I'd give it a go.
I think they're going to be published. Am I right, Dave?
Yes, yes.
Oh,
It's
fantastic.
going to publish them.
Cool. Well, here's my take on it. Once upon a time, in a land far away, on a path in a forest on a cold winter's day, walked a girl with a basket full of food that was good, and she wore what was now quite a famous red hood. Now, this girl had a mother, and this mum had one too. And one day this grandmother was sick with the flu. She sent word to her daughter, "I've got flu or bronchitis, and my hip's playing up and I've got tonsillitis. I would really quite like, if you please, if you could,
Send some food to me quickly with Red Riding Hood. So the mother of Red pulled out pots and some pans, and she set about baking some biscuits and flans, and some cakes and some slices, and Gran's favourite hood. Then she called for her daughter, "Oh, Red Riding Hood, you must take this now quickly to your poor old sick Gran. You must hurry along now as fast as you can." And so into a basket all the fresh baked goods went, and then off to her Gran's house Red Riding was sent. But our dear little Red didn't move very fast, and she stopped down to smell every flower she passed. "I wonder if Grandma would like a nice bunch to look at and smell while she's having her lunch." Then as little Red stood up, she got a surprise, and she looked into two green watery eyes. The green eyes, looking hungry, looked from Red to her basket. "I've a question, my dear," growled a voice. "May I ask it? Are you here all alone in this dark neighbourhood? Are you having a picnic with this food that smells good?" "Goodness, no," said the girl. "No, this food's not for me. I'm visiting my sick Grandma, you see." "Oh, and where does she live, my dear girl? Can you tell? For I visit sick grandmas and wish them all well." "Why, of course I can tell you," Red said. "I don't mind, for you are, after all, just so awfully kind." And so Red gave directions to her grandmother's house, and was just then disrupted by a scampering mouse. While the girl wasn't looking, the wolf went on his way, not believing the luck he was having that day. He went straight to the house and he knocked on the door, and he thought about Gran. The spit dripped down his jaw. "Who is that?" croaked a voice. "Is it you, little Red?" "Yes, it is, my dear Grandma," the hungry wolf said, and he opened the door, getting ready for lunch. But the old lady looked like she'd have too much crunch. She was bony and grey, looking awfully thin, and the wolf was put off by her wrinkled skin. Then the cunning old lady looked him square in the eye and said, "I don't think I taste nice, but you're welcome to try. I've been sick for days with this bad tonsillitis, and I've got a bung hip and the flu or bronchitis, and I'm sorry, dear wolf, but if you eat me then you will undoubtedly catch all my illnesses too." And the poor hungry wolf didn't know what to do. All he wanted was lunch, not a sore hip or flu. Then he had an idea and excitedly said, "I suppose I could eat the young girl's food instead." "Oh, would you?" Gran suddenly sat up in bed. "Oh, I'm glad that you met my granddaughter Red. If there's one thing I hate," and she waved her thin hand, "if there's one thing at all in this world I can't stand, it's my dear daughter's baking, if you indeed call it that. For she burns all her biscuits, and her sponge cakes are flash, and she overbeats cream, and her cupcakes are raw, and her brownies taste like they've been scraped off the floor, and her slices are crumbly, and her bread's always dry. Oh, it really is terrible. Oh, wolf, I won't lie. Now, I know that I shouldn't say this of my daughter, but in a rating of 10, I give her cooking 1/4. So you're welcome, dear wolf, if you wish to partake of my food, but you'd get a bad stomachache. I just feel it's my duty to give you this warning, but I dare say you might even be dead by the morning." "Nonsense, dead from your food?" The wolf got up in haste. "Death by pie, or a slice, or a cake? What a waste!" And he thought to himself, "Am I willing to risk it? Is my life not worth more than an overcooked biscuit?" Was she telling the truth? Was she telling a lie? Should he go away hungry? Should he stay here and die? Then Gran looked at the wolf with big innocent eyes, and he knew to say no to the scones and the pies. For she smiled so sweetly and said, "Run along, dear, for I fear that my granddaughter must surely be near. And when little Red Riding and her food finally come, you won't want to be here, or she'll make you eat some. You are such a nice wolf, and I'm sure you're not rude enough to say no if she offers you food." He was tempted to stay and then eat the young child, but his mum always said it was feral and wild, desperate wolves who ate children who weren't yet mature. They apparently taste like a pile of manure. So the wolf, tummy rumbling, headed back out the door. There was no need to stay here at Gran's house anymore. Grandma waved him goodbye and called, "Have a nice day," but he didn't look back, he just went on his way. A big grin on her face, Grandma curled up in bed and awaited her visit from dear little Red. When at last the door opened and Red Riding appeared, Grandma leapt out of bed and she shouted and cheered, "Oh, I'm so glad to see you, my Red Riding Hood, and by golly, that food you have there sure smells good. My poor stomach is hungry. I've been waiting for hours. Oh, I see that you stopped and you picked me some flowers." The young girl found a vase and put the flowers in place, and she looked at her Gran with a frown on her face. "Mama said you're not well, that you're really quite sick." "But Grandma," Red said, "was it all just a trick?" "Just a trick," Grandma shouted, "a little white lie. I so desperately wanted your mum's apple pie. It's delicious, you see, and her cakes are so sweet, and her bread tastes like heaven, and her scones are a treat. And I knew that I needed a really good reason for you to come out in this cold, frosty season. So forgive me, my dear. Please don't think me a beast, but it's time to enjoy now this glorious feast."
Belle McCoy? bell. I've got a short story called Powdered Water.
Which I've actually read here before. Some of you might remember it. Don't know that it's that memorable. Anyway, Powdered Water. When Eleanor asked if his wit came easily, Byron just stared. He never thought of himself as particularly witty. He wasn't even sure he understood the meaning of the word. His gaze flicked round the group. Pens poised mid-comment. A trio of silent mannequins peered back. Ears burning, Byron thought he should at least thank Eleanor for the compliment. Caught between smile and grimace, his reply began as a garbled ugh and ended in a throat-clearing cough. Eleanor blinked, showed him her teeth, returned to her dissection of his senru. Dinner time again. 3 golden heads collide. Puppies have no brakes. Cute, she said. 3 naughty dog heads bobbled in agreement. But there's no juxtaposition. Week 2 and already her poetry sub-major assessment confounded him. Byron nodded, pretended he understood. On the way home he purchased the fatter of the 2 dictionaries at the newsstand. His next piece showed a definite improvement in style, if not content. The mailbox, another harbinger of rejection. The focus is too narrow, Eleanor said. Only another writer would appreciate the context. Not even a phantom smile this time. Byron went home, slump-shouldered. He had discovered something unexpected. He liked the idea of being funny. If his own work couldn't do it, perhaps he could borrow his favourite joke, the one about powdered water. He didn't think Eleanor was old enough to remember Stephen Wright, but what if she recognised the punchline? For days, Byron moped, agonising over some other way to make her laugh. The answer arrived accidentally by way of a mugging. Disgusted by the $2.65 in Byron's pockets, the assailant snaffled his victim's good leather jacket. He also took exception to Byron's t-shirt. On the front, it read, "Gun Reform," in bold red lettering. On the back, because who ever heard of a drive-by stabbing? Once Byron's knife wound healed, he returned to the poetry group. Everyone stared at him guppy-faced as he relived each moment in excruciating detail. When he finished, Eleanor roared with laughter. How ironic, was all she said. Byron could think of nothing to add.
Thanks, Belle. Joan.
It's nice to be here on the 50th and congratulations. And I've learned a lot through those years. I've decided to call this a select luncheon. And I apologise if I stumbled in the way because I had it half printed and the printer went bung and I wasn't sure which part to read, my written one or my half printed one. A select luncheon. The sun was smiling broadly as I contemplated lunch. A poached egg turned out perfectly. The toast cooked to a crunch. The birds were chirping merrily as I sat out on the deck. They almost seemed to hail me to this repast so select. I slid into a pensive mood, about to take a bite, when peace was shattered by the phone. It gave me such a fright. Its tone was most aggressive, and I became defensive. To be summoned in that way, this noisy interruption had quite upset my day. I hopped up from my disturbed chair. My first bite poised and forked mid-air. I must say, not without a moan. I then grabbed at that dratted phone. No voice responded from that call, for no one was there, no one at all. I then returned, highly aggrieved. And what a shock I then received. Not a skerrick if my meal was there. All I could do was stand and stare. I made my way back quite aggrieved. I'd said happy, haven't I? And what a shock I then received. Not a skerrick if my meal was there. All I could do was stand and stare. Could birds fly up and tap a wire to propagate a plan so dire? This incident perplexed me so, and maybe I will never know how I was spooked.
Kitty. Kitty is going to read from her book In a Compass.
Last time I came, it was 46.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, so that was July, and at the time I only just gave the editing to Blaise. So today I have my book here, and I'd like to read a part of it. And it's under the chapter of Being a Compass. Okay. Your time is limited. Don't waste it living someone else's life. Don't be trapped by dogma, which is living the result of other people's thinking. Don't let the noise of others' opinions drown out your own inner voice. And most important, have the courage to follow your heart and intuition. They somehow know already what you truly want to become. Everything else is secondary. Steve Jobs. So if today were the last day of your life, would you want to do what you're about to do today? If the answer is no, then you need to change something. And this is something that I've been thinking a lot about for the last few months since I've had my book published, because I believe that writing this book is not as I imagined, that it was just about, ticking my bucket list of having a book published, but the journey along the way and also the personal development that I have achieved. And I think it's more about the growth as well, and it's very important, and I've been thinking through what this is all about, the Inner Compass. So what about you? I just wanted to encourage us all to think about what our life purpose is. Have you discovered your heart's desires, the DNA of your soul, the actual act of discovering, your soul's DNA? I've had to think a lot for the last few months since the publishing of the book, because it's totally different from what I expected. What about you? I know that all of you would definitely have life purpose, and whether you call it a dream or your goal, whatever. The actual act of discovering that, I think, requires that we are all in tune to what we really want in our life and to follow our inner compass. And following our heart is also following our gut feeling, intuition, inner voice or instincts, whatever you call it. And on the way here, Michelle and I had a really good discussion about the different types of gifts, which I learned about, which is similar to this line of thought, that our heart gives us direction and guidance, underpins our mission and vision, and to identifies and clarifies our values, and ultimately provides our life with purpose, meaning and fulfillment. And so I don't know whether you've all heard about Brené Brown. She's one of my favorite authors. And she wrote this quote, which I really love, and she says that, "I now see how owning our story and loving ourselves through that process is the bravest thing that we'll ever do." So owning our story is something that is so important, and I think that, for me personally, about, overcoming.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Hello. Hello. I'll put my glasses on, I can't see you properly at all. It was great to get here tonight and have a chat to a lot of people and celebrate the Christmas party here, and thank you very much for putting it on, Blaise. While we're having a chat, I was having a chat to Russell actually. I don't know whether he's still here. And we're, there you are with your silly hand.
He doesn't recognise him.
And we were talking about Barcelona, which is, I don't know whether very many people have been there. It's a wonderful place. And it reminded me of one of the things that happened to it, Robin and I, when we were there, which was quite hysterical. We were walking along going to see the Gaudi's Cathedral, which is absolutely fantastic. And unbeknown to us, we were walking over this huge grate in the footpath. And hundreds of people were walking with us because they were all going to Gaudi's Cathedral. And as we went over the grate, all of a sudden my dress shot straight up in the air from my shoulders. And I'm saying, I've lost control of the dress, I've lost control of the dress. And Robin's pulling it down on one side and it's shooting up on the other side. And all these people are taking photos. And the friends we were with were saying to us, you'll be on the television news tonight. And I said, well, my face won't be, so I'm not too concerned about what else is on, but that's not me. Anyway, but I was just thinking about Christmas and thinking about the funny things that happen in our household at Christmas, because we go fully into Christmas and we make everything, puddings, Christmas cakes, everything you could possibly imagine. And my son found me once stirring the port into the Christmas cake mixture every day, and he said, Mum, why are you putting Clayton's into the Christmas cake? Wrong bottle, but never mind. But anyway, one year we had, for instance, the oven door fell off. And it's very hard to cook a turkey with the oven door off. We had to tie it on with tea towels. And the next year my daughter set fire to the tablecloth with a candle. So, Christmas is always very hectic with us. However, I still feel a lot of love at Christmas time. That love for whole humankind. Even for my kids, I felt that. I could have been a really nice person if I hadn't had kids. But anyway, as I was going to say, I have this love for everybody, and I can remember this one particular day I was going to the shopping centre, and I felt full of love. I was singing with the windows of the car down, and I parked my car crookedly as usual, and I thought, well, I better straighten up. And I peered around and I could see one car coming down, but she was on the other side, so I just wanted to come out a couple of feet and back again. So I came out and she's going toot on her horn, absolutely going berserk at me. And I parked the car and I thought, well, I'm full of love, I'll go and explain to her that I knew exactly what I was doing. I wouldn't have gone anywhere near her, I was only going out a little foot. So I walked over to her and she had a little child in her hand. And I said, hello. I said, look, I just want... Oh, you stupid old woman, what are you doing? You don't know what you're doing. You shouldn't be driving. And she was going off at me, calling me all sorts of nasty things in front of a child too, And so I drew myself up to my full height, which is not much. And I thought, well, you've heard of the saying that somebody might have a dirty liver, which causes all sorts of nasty things to happen to them, and I thought that's probably what's happened. So I said to her, quite the wrong thing, I said, look, I'm sorry that you've got a dirty bladder. And she looked at me in such disgust and swept off. That's one of my problems, is doing the wrong thing at the wrong time. I remember another time I sang for a wedding, and I was up in the organ loft singing my song, and I sang my song and I thought, oh, that's pretty good. I sat down quite happy with myself when I finished it, and all of a sudden I realised I'd sung the wrong song. And I'd sung for a wedding, close the door, light the lights, we're staying home tonight, instead of there will never be another you, which is quite different, isn't it, really? Anyway, thank you very much, everybody.
Oh, I was going to sing a song, see, I forgot. Yeah. You still got 30 seconds, haven't we?
I was going to sing a song, and I'm not sure whether I've forgotten the second line, so if you know it, please join in, will you? Have yourself a merry little Christmas, make the Yuletide gay,
From now on your troubles will be miles away. Here we are back in olden days, happy golden days of yore. Faithful friends who are near to us can be near to us once more. Through the years we all will be together, if the fates allow. Hang a shining star upon the highest bough, and have yourself a merry little Christmas now. Thank you.
Thanks, Gay. Thomas. Thomas is going to read a poem to a child, a poem by Christopher.
That was so beautiful. I've got to cheat a little bit. I'm going to whip up a salad of one sonnet and one poem from somebody else who I like. You probably know them both. To a Child, a poem by Christopher Morley. Oh. The greatest poem ever known is one all poets have outgrown. The poetry innate, untold, of being only 4 years old. Still young enough to be a part of nature's great impulsive art, born comrade of bird, beast and tree, and unself-conscious as the bee, and yet with lovely reason skilled, each day new paradise to build, a late explorer of each sense, without dismay, without pretense. In your unstained, transparent eyes there is no conscience, no surprise. Life's queer conundrums you accept, your strange divinity still kept. Being that now absorbs you, all harmonious, unit, integral, will shred into perplexing bits, oh, contradictions of wits. And life that sets all things in rhyme may make you poet too in time. But there were days, O tender elf, when you were poetry itself. What potions I have drunk, my siren tears, distilled from limbecks as foul as applying hopes to fears and fears to hope, still losing when I saw myself to win. What wretched errors hath my heart committed in the distraction of this madding fever? So I stand rebuked, and to my content, for I have gained thrice more than I've spent.
Thanks, Thomas. Antoinette.
So I'm reading from my book, Your Thoughts Matter, The Future You Creating Starts Now. Last time I was here in the open mic session, I think a few months ago, the book hadn't been published, and so it's very exciting to actually have the book now, and soon to have a reflection journal and cards to go with it, affirmation cards, so hopefully soon. They'll be there soon. So I'm going to read from one of the reflections in the book. So essentially there's 25 reflections all about, or designed to empower the reader to create the life you love. A little bit what Kitty was saying before, it's been a journey to get to this point, and I always thought that actually having the book was like the end point, and it's not. Yeah, so it's, as a lot of you will know, that's just the beginning. So, and it's wonderful to discover that, to say this is just the start of the growth and development. So it's been a really wonderful experience. So anyway, I'm going to read from my from the 15th reflection, which is being, and each one has an affirmation to go with it and a photograph. And the reason I'm showing you the photograph, because that was an important part of what I wanted to get across, because I took the photographs for the book, had to learn how to take photographs, bought a camera, and it was, again, another part of me expressing what I wanted to get across in each of the reflections. So I read being, and the affirmation for being is this. I experience the moment, I experience life with a sense of wonder. I am present in the moment. I be, I am. And being. Now I start each of the reflections with a quote from well-known people. And this one I really like, from Jonathan Swift. It says, may you live all the days of your life. So too often we are rushing around trying to do many things at once, thinking about all the things we didn't do, things we still have to do. We're usually so busy doing that we spend very little time being. To be, we need to stop doing. Being is stillness, it is timeless. One way of coming close to this state of being is to live in the moment. It is through being that we come close to experiencing the true nature of who we are. None of us really knows what will happen in the next moment. We can guess, and most of the time we'll be right. But we all know events of nature, accidents, deliberate actions by other people that happened in a moment and have changed people's lives forever. So being can only be done now. It's not a past or future state. And we usually spend most of our time worrying about the past, which we can't change, or possible future outcomes, which may or may not occur, instead of living in the present and making decisions to bring about the future we want. So all we really have is now. Many times I wish my life away and heard others say similar things. I can't wait until Friday. I wish today was over. Can't wait till holidays. We say things like that all the time. Thinking this way implies a powerlessness to affect, to affect the way we feel now. It implies a future that has to be better than the present, that we're unhappy with what's occurring now and looking forward to a time when we'll be happy, the weekend, the holiday, or when we're home from work. But happiness is not a future event. Living is not a future event. Living happens now. So when we focus on now, we see the world as the wonder it is. We really live our lives. Everything becomes special. The magnificence of nature, the flowers, the plants, animals, and the people who you're with. When we stop trying to get through life, to get through the day, or just stop and experience the moment, the whole world becomes a different place. Time stands still, and even the most mundane things seem wonderful. You see things that normally don't pay attention to. You become calmer and stress decreases. Problems diminish when you focus on literally each second of time, without worrying or thinking about what comes next. Being and living in the moment means getting in touch with who you are. When you're being, time seems to stand still. Past, present, future become one when you're experiencing who you are. Being allows you to experience the wonder of the present moment. There are also many health benefits. Being mindful, whether through meditation, practice of stillness, or being fully immersed in the now moment, reduces stress, relieves anxiety, and is relaxing and energising. When we stop doing and being, we not only recognise the connection with all creation, we live the connection. Existing through each day is not the same as living each day. It is in being that we are truly ourselves. Being is also the key to creating the future you want. Right. I think that's it. So I'll just end with live now, live today, and find the wonder of life.
Lillian has a story, The Prince Who Would Not Grow.
Okay, so first thing I want to do is just announce that for those of you who've been following my journey, I am finally launching my novel Wanted Greener Grass on Sunday week, so if anyone is interested in coming along. And what I'm going to do is just quickly read you the back cover blurb for the novel so you know what it's about. So it's called Wanted Greener Grass, a novel about love, envy, and a crazy kind of courage. The eternal hunger for fulfillment is the catalyst in this compelling story about a couple who recommit to their marriage and in the process come close to destroying it. Mia and John's relationship has become flat and boring and she's over her job. So when John heads to England for his father's funeral, she feels relieved and excited and ready for something new. But while overseas, John has been making some big decisions of his own and he returns a changed man. Suddenly, he is much more committed, but something isn't right. When the truth is finally revealed, Mia is devastated. Her world has been turned upside down and she finds herself caught in the middle of a moral and ethical dilemma. And does she dare reveal her own secret? So this is an attempt at lightness, romance, and also some depth of ideas about envy relationships and the journey we go on in figuring out what we want. So if anyone's interested, come and let me know and I'll send you an invitation where you can take one of these. Now to my story. I'm reading a story called The Prince Who Would Not Grow, which is a fairy tale as well. And this story is about a queen and her son, and the son has had very arrested growth. So the queen goes to see a wise woman and is given 3 tasks. We're up to the 2nd task. The prince must meet 3 people and share a meal with each one. And you, mother, make your seat in the village square and there begin a tapestry of your life. Let him come to and from his wandering to tell you his tales. On the 2nd day, a new attendant greeted the prince. This was a woman, but such an old woman. She was stooped and hunched and spoke in a crackling whisper, and was yet a hale old woman, for she led the boy quickly from the castle into the village. Following her at a skip, Edward's eyes feasted on the movement in the village as they passed through it. When they reached the square, the old one sat on a log and, drawing some tapestry work from inside her robes, she bid the young prince go forth upon his task. At once, Edward shrank back in fear, but again the attendant pressed him forwards. To begin with, the prince moved but a few paces away, where he stood shyly watching some children in their skipping game. A girl, seeing him there, invited him to join in, but he shook his head and hung back. Watching, the queen bit her lip and turned her face away. Here was her fear, here and here, in bare feet and ragged clothing, playing rough games and speaking rough words. She set her jaw that she might not interfere, and there went the prince of a sudden, joining the game little as he was, but showing himself to be light and quick as he skipped in and out of the turning rope. And in no time one of the children had broken a crust of bread that she had hid in her pocket, and the queen saw her son take it and eat it with relish. Later, Edward wandered away with the other children, and for some time the old woman queen sat alone, her breath coming harsh as she pushed and pulled at her needlework, and saw and heard him not. But return he did, beaming, to tell her of the soup the child's mother had given him to taste, and it was good, it was hearty and good. Then the prince found a patch of thin grass where he sat alone with a thoughtful countenance, casting stones on the ground from time to time as he surveyed the movement around him. And as the shadows were beginning to lengthen, a merchant hurrying by tripped and let fall his bundle, and in a trice the young prince was on his feet and helping to gather the scattered goods. Thus did it come to be that the boy Edward was given his 3rd meal, for the merchant bid him sup with his family out of thanks. And it was dark when the old woman queen and the young, growing prince did return to the castle, she to continue stitching her tale by candlelight, and he to lie abed with a smile on his face. The 3rd task. The prince must spend a day alone in the forest bordering the castle. Who knows what this day will bring? On the 3rd day, the queen bid her son farewell from her chambers, and if the boy wondered why the old woman's attendant's tapestry now lay stretched across his mother's knees, he said nothing. The queen's eyes sparkled and her lips brushed his forehead only lightly, for her attention was on the work at hand. Go well, she said. Take good note of what you see, for the king returns soon, and he will be seeking sound report of the doings of his kingdom in his absence. A familiar servant led the prince through the castle gates and out into the countryside. Edward gazed all around him with great interest as they galloped along the road, his home shrinking to a speck behind him. Such vast fields, such long roads, so many trees and cottages. His journey back to the castle on the cantering horse after his escapade had not offered him such a view. Besides, it had been night.
One more reader, Noni. Come on now. So Noni has her novella, Mirror Rising, which was launched here in September. But Noni is also going to Delhi in 2 weeks, 3 weeks. First week of December, she's going to have another launch there. So, are you going to read from? Yes. Come on. So this is for sale if anyone would like to buy. First of all, thank you so much for Blaise van Hecke and Blaise and is Bo already there? Or no? He's here. For putting up such a good book, and it's taking out there, and soon, yeah, it's going to be published in India and subcontinent. So I'm doing some book signings as well, and am I allowed to say? Kev is coming along to India. Yes, with yeah, as a part of the Busybird team. So I'll just read a few lines. It's maybe I've got 5 minutes, so I'll see what you can see I've just had 4 glasses of wine, so pretty intense. So I'll just read my favorite part. I'm absolutely tipsy now. Okay. Just give me 1 second. Okay, I'll read it from, it's page 76 from the chapter Rebirth of Mira. Now, this is a book, who hasn't purchased it, it's basically about, it's about higher love, about a man, a woman, and a God, but it's not a religious book, it's basically to go in the journey with Mira and how she attends that higher love. And without giving away everything from the book, just buy the book and read it. That's what I'd say. So, I'll just start from here. A tourist bus bulging with people narrowly missed an elderly woman who couldn't walk to cross the street to go to the temple nearby. She was ignored by passers-by. Mira couldn't help herself. She ran to the woman's aid. They walked into the temple grounds and Mira sat with her outside for alms and food. Looking across the stretch of people, she felt alive from seeing the real faces of love, trying to understand how poverty and Krishna could be on their lips and on their faces, as if they have accepted this as their path of life. She took her hands to close her ears from hearing all the voices, the laughter. She was able to listen to their whispers, their conversations with themselves they were having in their heads. Her heart raced for a split second. She thought she heard Lalita again. Her throat parched, her cheeks warm, and a drop of sweat falling from her brow. She stood up too quickly and her head swung from one end of the street to the other. Fatigue mixed with dizziness, she narrowly missed the corner of the footpath as the same elderly woman who was saved by Mira a while ago quickly came to her aid. Now the woman was a savior. She offered Mira her cup of water. "Thank you," Mira replied. The elderly woman laughed, pointing her finger towards the temple. "That's Krishna's miracle to send us together. Jai Shri Krishna." She was struggling to understand what was going on inside her. Does poverty drive people to kindness, or is being rich is just a privileged word for being ungrateful? The quest for truth was to be with Krishna, but the deeper she would go to that truth, the deeper she would be pulled by a social and moral compass. With the changes that were happening to her, one would think she was mad. But what is the definition of madness? Her frail physicality was already a living proof that society would soon label her insane, if they hadn't already. If your love was so easy to get, maybe it wouldn't be so hard to understand this change. The world around me, help me. She closed her eyes while praying, her whole life flashing in front of her like a dream. She fell asleep. "I'm here, Mira," Vikramaditya whispered as he touched her. Her heart sank. Looking at Mira's tears, the old lady offered her a rag covered in dirt to wipe off those tears. Mira's eyes were covered in soot. The old woman laughed at her, and Mira joined her in laughter. When she saw her reflection on the puddle of water by the temple, "Look, I have someone to show you," said the old woman. "He is there, a Ferengi, a white guy, singing devotional songs in praises of you, Mira." She pointed Mira to the temple. Mira's heart sank. She ran towards the temple and saw crying. this book is basically based on a 16th century poet, Mirabai. And what I've done, I've actually put her into this modern world so you can understand properly what she was. So this is my take on Mira. So it's a beautiful read.
Bye. I'm going to draw the door prize. Have you got tickets? Did everyone get a ticket?
If anyone didn't get one, let me know.
If anyone didn't get one, put your hand up and Ken will get it out for you. Would anyone like to know what the door prize is? Me. Door prize is a door. A door. Oh, nobody heard me. Door prize is a $100 Busybird gift voucher. So you can use it however you like. Books, workshops, me.
I think you'd be worth more than that. Very much so.
Okay, are we ready?
Yes.
Ticket. Ta-da. A40.
Oh.
You got that?
Pretty sure she won last time too.
Did you? That's okay. You can decide later what you want. Okay, that brings us to the end of Open Mic Night number 50. It's also the last Open Mic Night for the year. So we won't be back until February next year for Open Mic. You don't need to go home now. There's still coffee and cake and wine. More wine. I think Noni needs more wine. So feel free to hang around. If not, I hope to see you back here next year and have an awesome summer. And have a great Christmas and you celebrate
The journal we had to take.
Yes, I know.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming, definitely. Thanks, Joe. Thanks for coming.
Yes, it's right. I love every time I sing and say anything. It's just amazing. You know, by the end of the week they catch up.
But yours is better. Well done. You never had a see what you've done. Being fostered? Yeah.